Hello everybody, I hope everything's well, and as always, let's jump right into this. I'm going to read this quote here. You don't have a soul, you are a soul, you have a body, by C.S. Lewis. Now this speaks volumes to me. On one level, it's saying that death doesn't exist. And death doesn't, because remember, the soul is eternal. It cannot die, it is pure energy. You see what I'm saying? Pure consciousness. So, in reality, all we're really doing here in life, whether your name is Andrew, Bobby, Jenny, whatever you're going through in life, it's just a matter of experience so that the universe may know itself. Okay? And that brings me to my next point as well. Karma. It does not exist. Karma is only something that you put upon yourself, because when you do a bad thing, you keep thinking about the bad thing you've done and you feel like that's going to come back onto you. And for most people, you've been brought up to think you reap what you sow, what goes around comes around, etc. But if you look at the powers to be, you will see that they believe what they're doing in this world is good, and we know that it's the complete opposite. But they believe within themselves that it to be good. So the fact that they believe it to be good, no harm will come to them, because remember, what you perceive is what you conceive in your reality. That's what the whole double slit experiment was about. Whatever the observer was observing, that would be the outcome of the particular experiment, or whatever it is that you are observing. You know what I'm saying? Whatever outcome that would be, that's what the outcome you wanted it to be, because that's what you were thinking. You understand? So, like I said, when you do something bad, most good people, they believe that something's going to happen to them, so they have that mantra in their head, something bad's going to happen to me, and something bad happens to them. That's why someone who's a psychopath, who doesn't have those hang-ups, those emotional hang-ups, can keep doing bad stuff and really don't have any backlashes when it comes to the energy reversing back on you, because it won't affect them, because they ain't thinking that it would. You see what I'm saying? Now, this is going to back up what I was saying. What I was just saying, nothing exists except atoms and empty space. Everything else is opinion. Now, for those people who've done their homework, they know that scientists have been saying, and I've in other videos too, and the guy's doing his own little experiments, atoms is 99.9% empty space. Now remember, you are made up of atoms. Everything is made up of atoms. I'm made up of atoms. But you can understand that we are a more higher form of atoms, sentient atoms, as I guess one would say. And we are able to manipulate the atoms outside of us because we are connected to those same things. That's why it's easy for one to control their reality if they are master of themselves and their mind. That's why these yogis and basically every real spiritual leader will tell you, you got to master oneself, and then you master your reality. People are still hung up on things that were told to them, programs such as you will be nothing, you're a loser, no one will love you, things like that. So that stays in the back of one's mind, and that keeps playing throughout their whole reality. So whatever they go through, that's what they're bringing upon themselves. And most people are going through this sort of thing, especially if you've been brought up in a religious family. Okay? But understand that you are the master of your reality. That's all you really need to know, and things can change for you. Now, what people think time is, they think it's this linear, straight arrow forward kind of way, but what time actually is. You see, you can have a cause here, an effect here, an effect here, and a cause here. So basically, let's say a being here wanted to leave their timeline and come here. Alright, and let's say this is our timeline right here. So this being can come here and affect with our timeline. You understand what I'm saying? Especially because when they go back in time, and this is what scientists believe, and I'm going to show you a scientist, a theoretical scientist, saying this himself, that they believe, and this is what they believe, and they believe this is the way to answer this particular question, this paradox, solve this paradox, sorry, is that, let's say someone went back in time, the river would fork and it will create another timeline. So you're actually messing with a whole nother timeline, not even your timeline, a whole nother timeline. And you can manipulate that the way you want. Now that opens so many doors, because that means that, because if you watch my video, Time Travel is Possible, that would mean that this is already occurring. And this is happening over and over again. That's why things are slightly different, or things can be drastically different, or somewhat different. You know what I'm saying? Or not different at all. Okay? Also, one could be born here and then be born in a whole nother timeline. Because remember, the soul is timeless. So this would also, and the scientist is going to get into that too, how someone in a third dimensional bubble can exist in 11 dimensional reality. So he's going to explain all this. Okay? And we're going to jump right into this right now. But understand that this is what's going on right now. Beings from other timelines or older timelines are coming to our timeline, and even younger timelines. What they're doing, I don't know. Maybe their own experiments, trying to figure something out. You know, only time will tell on that. No pun intended. Okay, now this is him right here, Michio Kaku, and he's gonna discuss and explain what I was just saying about how a new timeline is formed. And this is what these scientists believe, okay? So don't take my word for it. This is what the scientists are studying, the mainstream scientists, okay? Now let's listen to what he has to say.
Excitement is that the river of time may have whirlpools, and the river of time may fork into two separate rivers.
Okay.
And this explains the paradoxes of time travel. For example, what happens if you go backwards in time, meet your teenage mother as a teenage girl, and she falls in love with you and spurns your father? How could you be born if all of a sudden your parents never met because you got in the way?
It's Back to the Future.
Right. Well, we physicists think we can explain that paradox. We think that the river of time may fork into two rivers, so that when you go backwards in time and meet Abraham Lincoln at the Ford Theater, and you prevent him from being assassinated, you've prevented somebody else's Abraham Lincoln from being assassinated. Your past is fixed.
Okay.
Your timeline cannot be changed. You've gone backwards in time to meet somebody else's timeline, and you've now created a parallel universe in which Abraham Lincoln was not assassinated at the Ford Theater.
So as you can see, that brings me to that just, you know what I'm saying, it answers one question that, you know, then I gotta ask another question, you know, about like, well, if another parallel universe is created, could one go to that parallel universe and see their own past timeline? I mean, it gets confusing. I'm not gonna even get into that, but so I don't want to get off topic, and I'll probably make this video like an hour. Okay? I wanted to get into the whole dimensions thing as well. But as you can see, the scientists, world-renowned mainstream scientists believe that another timeline is just created. You understand? How many exist? I don't know. Infinite. It's like putting a mirror against a mirror and you just see all those images, image after image after image. You know what I'm saying? So, but let's get on with this now. Listen to what he has to say here. Okay? A short 2-minute clip. And I'm going to pause it a little bit here and there to explain a few things. But just listen to what he has to say.
We believe, though we cannot yet prove, that our multiverse of universes is 11-dimensional. So think of this 11-dimensional arena. And in this arena, there are bubbles that float. And the skin of the bubble represents an entire universe. So we're like flies trapped on flypaper. We're on the skin of a bubble. It's a 3-dimensional bubble. The 3-dimensional bubble is expanding, and that's called the Big Bang Theory. And sometimes these bubbles can bump into each other. Sometimes they can split apart, and that, we think, is the Big Bang. So we even have a theory of the Big Bang itself. Now you ask a question, what about the dimensions of each bubble? Well, in string theory, which is what I do for a living, that's my day job, in string theory we can have bubbles of different dimensions. The highest dimension is 11. You cannot go beyond 11 because universes become unstable beyond 11.
Okay, now, the reason why he said they become unstable at 11 because it's pure energy, pure chaos. And that is the realm, those are the realms beyond what we would call the conventional reality or physical reality. Now, they can't go beyond that because they don't have the melanin, obviously. Only people of the, prime beings with the melanin, because that's, again, we got to keep mentioning the melanin. It's an important factor. They can't access these dimensions without basically losing their minds because the energy is too powerful for them. Whereas if someone who's heavily melanated, especially they have a lot of neuromelanin, they won't have no problems deciphering and decoding and inhabiting that particular realm. Okay? And seeing into that realm. But let's continue.
I write down the theory of a 13, 15-dimensional universe. It's unstable, and it collapses down to an 11-dimensional universe. But within 11 dimensions, you can have bubbles that are 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional. These are membranes. So for short, we call them branes. So these branes can exist in different dimensions. And let's say P represents the dimension of each bubble. So we call them P-branes. So a P-brane is a universe in different dimensions floating in a much larger arena. And this larger arena is the hyperspace that I talked about originally.
Okay, so there you go. So it's a bubble within a bubble within a bubble. Now I made a video talking about hell. And remember when I was talking about it means concealed place. You understand? We are in a concealed part of the universe. Or actually a concealed part of the dimension. Okay? Now you heard what he said. That a 3rd-dimensional bubble can exist in an 11-dimensional reality. An 11-dimensional hyperspace. So that means we're existing in a higher reality with beings we don't know who can probably be messing with our reality right now. Okay? Which I got into about non-human entities rule the realm. Non-human entities rule the realm. Okay? Now the Greys are basically robotoids or artificial intelligence that are being used to keep humanity down, or the original man down. Okay? Now that is one of my theories. And another one is we created these beings, and then when we fell, it basically just went haywire. Not haywire, basically it didn't have a master no more. And the AI went haywire and now it thinks it's God and everything, just like in certain movies, like the robot now thinks it's human. Okay? So, it's a lot of stuff going on. But as you can see, the scientists or the occultists, this is what they believe. And this is what they believe is going on a cosmic basis. Okay? And how things are formed and created. But let's listen to what the rest of what he has to say, and I'll give you my thoughts on that.
Also remember that each bubble vibrates, and each bubble vibrating creates music. The music of these membranes is the subatomic particles. Each subatomic particle represents a note on a vibrating string or vibrating membranes. So believe it or not, we now have a candidate for the mind of God that Albert Einstein wrote about for the last 30 years of his life.
All right, so there you go. These bubbles he said they have sound. Now remember, it's all about vibration and energy. Okay? That's what it's all about. And they're telling you. Again, remember, he said this is what he believes. This is what they believe, because they can't prove it yet. But when they say that, they just don't want people to get too ahead of themselves, because basically they're rediscovering what the ancients already knew. You understand? So they got to play it off like that. But as you can see, one's mind can be in the third dimension, but you actually exist on a higher frequency. And then he's explaining it right now why. So basically we're getting hit by higher dimensional energies. That's why people are even getting this knowledge. Some people are just waking up. They're getting this. They're like, yo, I haven't read no books, man. You know, all this is just coming to me for some reason. Welcome to the spirit realm. Okay? Which I already explained, and I'm always, restating stuff I already said in previous videos, but I can't stress it enough. Now, he says they have a mind for God. If you want to hear that sound, the cosmic sound in your own mind, sit in a quiet place and you'll be able to hear it. It almost sounds like bells. And if you have high energy, real high energy, if you meditate, at first it's just going to sound like bells. But when you meditate, it sounds different. Almost like a symphony almost. A cosmic symphony. But that's the best way I can put it. Okay? But understand, folks, that you are beyond time and space. You are beyond this reality or anything you're going through right now. Just realize that. Okay? Thank you for listening, and peace and love to the ancient ones.